Good morning. It's your girl, Jen. It is Monday morning, and I am excited to be here today. It has been a really impactful weekend, a packed full weekend, and it was just a lot of energy. So I'm going to share that story with you. But first, we are here live 5 days a week, 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. So if you have not already liked this channel, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We are all about intentionality. It is about getting clear with a direction that we're going in our life, because we could just wake up in the morning, let our feet hit the floor and just keep going. We absolutely could do that. But Zig Ziglar says, if we don't know where we're going, then we hit our target every time. The truth is, if we are not intentional about how we want our life to look, how we want to show up, what our goals look like, who is the person that we want to be, how we want to feel, then we leave life to chance. And we don't want to leave life to chance. We want to take control of what our life is going to look like, what our life will look like. And it takes steps. Just because you make a decision one day doesn't mean that it's going to come to fruition the next day. In fact, a lot of times these take many steps in between, and we have to take grace. We have to give ourselves grace, because if we just, it's like those people that, oh, I'm going to cut out all carbs. And I had a friend recently, this is exactly what he told me. He said, and he's a big fast food eater. He said, I'm not eating cheese or carbs ever again. And I'm like, okay, that's going to last like 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, cool. Do you, that's great. And I think it maybe lasted a day. I'd have no idea. I didn't ask how long it took. And I'm not like, so you eating cheese and carbs, I just noticed. But the truth is, when we are so restrictive, when we tell ourselves you're on a diet, it means that you're lacking something. And anyway, you've got to kind of ease into these things. A lot of times you can take that cold turkey approach. I know when I stopped drinking, I did it cold turkey. And for some people that works, and for some people it doesn't. But it's such a massive life change that it takes time to ease into these things. So we got to get clear about who is the person that we want to be. Where do we want to go? So this show is all about intentionality. And today we're going to talk about getting in flow. So I had a really great weekend. I was emceeing this event down in Houston. It was the National Big Texas Rally for Recovery. And it was in the George R. Brown Convention Center. I mean, this thing, y'all, was absolutely huge. This place was so massive. I walked in, I thought, holy smokes. And they had vendors that were set up all around the perimeter. There was a DJ up on stage. We had a band playing. I mean, y'all, this was so incredibly impressive. And it was something, this wasn't new for me to be on stage, and I've emceed before, but something at this level, it was new for me. But it was a topic that I'm very comfortable with. It was Rally for Recovery. So it was, it was my people there, and all people are my people, but these people as well. So I felt very comfortable with that. What I wasn't so comfortable with was not having an agenda. The agenda was changed up until the very last minute, and I didn't understand the flow of this spreadsheet. The times didn't make sense. For the most part, they did, but some didn't map up. And that was just a human error of whoever was putting together the spreadsheet. And then there were columns, and I didn't understand how they associated with each other. I was just like, what is all of this? Then there were different speakers that came up throughout the day. And I was handed a packet of paper 10 minutes before and said, here are the bios, just read them. I mean, I don't know. I was like, just read them. Like, that is so incredibly just not me. It's boring. I'm like, and so-and-so did this and so-and-so did this. I mean, you're talking about an entire day event, and this is a massive room, and you've got to keep the energy high. And I'm thinking, okay, all right. Like, how do you get in flow when you don't even really understand what the flow of the show is? So how am I going to get in flow when I don't understand the flow of the show? I don't know who these people are. How do you get in flow? And the truth is, when we're in flow, we are in our most powerful state of being. We just allow things to happen. And we know that suffering is not where we're in our most powerful state. We know that. And we talk about the example of doing any financial decisions when you're anxious. How many people took their money out when COVID hit? Oh, my money's going to go. And they pulled their money out. Then the market recuperated. And then what happened? They were depressed. And I know some of these people, they were upset because they took their money out, but they did it when they were in a state of fear. They were anxious. Maybe they were resentful, whatever it was. They were in a state of suffering and they weren't making the best decisions. I'm sure there may have been I don't know if every financial advisor would have said, just hang tight. I don't know, but they should have just hung tight, right? So we know that we're not in our most powerful state of being when we are in suffering. So whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's, volunteering at your kid's school, if it's giving a speech at work, maybe you're writing a book, maybe you're coordinating an event, maybe you're the MC at something that is completely, it was like organized and not organized. There was nothing that was given to me that seemed that organized. Like Jen Sugarmeyer wasn't prepared. Like nobody had prepared Jen Sugarmeyer. They just said, do your thing, do your MC magic thing. Okay, I'll just sprinkle all that on. And so that's what I did. That's exactly what I did. So as I started this day, so we're going through, y'all, the itinerary, and it's 10 minutes before. And I'm like, okay, I just want to make sure that I have this. So we're walking through all of it. And I'm like, okay, I think I kind of get this. So we go out to the front, we go up to the front of the stage, I kick it off, all this kind of jazz. And it is rocky. It's really pretty rocky. It was okay, but there were people that I was announcing. There were things I had a little bit of time to get my bearings, but I had to give announcements and, there were sponsors and just all these things. And I mean, it was okay. It wasn't that I didn't have anything to say, but I wasn't in flow. When I started for the first hour, I wasn't in flow. And I was so busy thinking in my mind, I was thinking about all the expectations that other people had, with the expectations of the hosts and how do I do a really good job? And, there was this woman that had emceed the event the night before, and I went and watched her, and she did a great job. And, and there was part of me, I'm like, why wasn't she doing the main event? She was great, and she's in recovery and she's funny and she's witty and she's just great. And, so there's all these things that are, there's, I don't want to say self-doubt, but, well, she easily could have done this. Why me? And I guess that's a little bit of self-doubt and, expectations of other people. So after about an hour, and I think I threw my papers away. I have this stack of papers, and it's like bios of people that aren't even speaking. It's just tons of, I'm like, I don't even know what all this stuff is. And I said, you know what? Just do you, Jen. Just do you. So what did I do? What do I know? What do I know how to do? I know how to tell stories. I know how to put little nuggets of wisdom into things. I know my own personal testimony. I have a big story because you see, there were all these gaps in time or people weren't talking as long as they were allotted, or some people didn't show for this event. And so I'm responsible for keeping everything on track. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to fill some of the time. So instead of just going up on stage and saying, and our next speaker is, which is boring, I did what I know. And I started entertaining. And I know this is a crowd that also likes to dance. So I walked over to the DJ and I said, all right, DJ, when this next speaker gets off stage, I want you to play Montel Jordan. This is how we do it. You know what song I'm talking about. This is how we do it. Mm. This is how we do it. Yeah, that song. So I went over to the DJ. I said, look, play This Is How We Do It on my cue. And so I told the audience, I said, come on, Houston, are you ready to show them what we got? I said, let's do it. I go, this, and then we started. And y'all, I am not even kidding. So this is my zone. In fact, this is my 5-year-old self who was going to be that rock star performing up on stage. She absolutely 100% had her chance this weekend. So I've got my big old heels on. I start dancing. I start singing. And the crowd, I said, come on, y'all. I want to see, we got to get that blood flowing. And people start dancing. I start calling people out. We're having a good time. And I was in flow because I took out those expectations of everybody else. And I started to focus on, what am I good at? So when you start to get into flow, we're going to go over 6 tips really quickly, because we know that suffering is not our powerful state. That's not when we're in flow. So how do we get there? First, you need to relax. When I walked on that stage, that first time, I was not relaxed. They had just handed me a ton of papers. I don't know what's going on. I want to be dynamic and entertaining, but I also realized that there was no stage manager. Like, who's going and getting all these speakers? I had no, I don't know who these speakers are. I don't know their bio. I don't know what they look like. There's no picture next to their bio. Like, I don't even have any clue. This is a massive, and I'm going on stage every 10, 15 minutes. How am I supposed to go find all these people and learn all this stuff and do all this and coordinate everything? It was a little bit stressful. So when I went on stage, I was not relaxed. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? And they gave me a mini MC, which was the host's daughter, who's 19 years old. And they thought it'd be really nice for her to be up on stage. So I'm like, what am I going to say versus her going to say? I want to give her stuff to say. And I'm like, too much. I wasn't relaxed. I needed to relax into myself and just say, you know what, God, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And so that's what I did. I said, you know what? I'm going to take away the expectations and I'm just going to do. I'm going to be present and I'm just going to do. So first of all, you need to relax. You need to think about, secondly, you need to think about, what is the goal? Just like we talked about in the beginning of the show today. What do you want your life to look like? How do you want to feel? Who do you want to be? Getting intentional about our lives is so key. Because remember what Zig Ziglar says, if we aim at nothing, we hit our target every time. So what is it that you are working on? And what do you want that to look like? Be really clear, be intentional about the outcome. So for me in this event, I wanted people to have a good time. I wanted them to be entertained. I wanted people to move and groove and celebrate recovery. I wanted to see smiles. I wanted people to be celebrating. That's what I wanted. And so that's how I started to insert things. What's the outcome that I want? I had everybody raise their hand. I said, who's in recovery? All right, if you have 30 years or more of recovery, put your hand down. 25, put your hand down. And I got all the way down to 1 year. And I said, everybody who has their hands down, I want you to clap for the people that have their hands up, because those are the people that are really doing the work right now. And it took them a lot to get here today. That's the kind of stuff. When I relaxed, when I became clear on the vision, I wanted people to celebrate themselves. I was so caught up in my head for like the first hour of all these papers, all these things. And I lost sight of what I wanted for that crowd. Fortunately, I caught that real fast. And that was in the beginning of the day when there weren't a lot of people there. So we caught it and then we got going. And I said, this is how we do it. And I started calling people out for dancing and calling people out for celebrating their recovery. And I said, man, that That was the vision for the day. So get clear on your vision. What are you good at? What are you good at? There are things you're good at and there are things that you're not. For me, I love dancing. I absolutely love dancing. That was easy for me. I love singing. I'm not the greatest, but I hit every single note that I sang because there were multiple songs and I knew almost all the words, y'all. I tapped into my inner 90s. I tapped into my inner 90s child and I was like singing all the songs, cracking jokes about how who remembers this from on tape when we had our tape recorder and we tape it from the radio. I mean, I just was going with it. But that's what I'm good at. I'm good at telling stories. I'm good at giving little nuggets. I'm good at calling people out and making them feel good about themselves. Y'all, we did dance offs. We had these raffles and you had to be present to win. And if you weren't present, okay. But I wasn't going to keep calling numbers if you weren't there. So after 3 times, I did a dance off and I'd have the crowd, who won? And I'd have the crowd participate and we'd give away prizes. That's the stuff I'm good at, not reading on this piece of paper. Here's the bio of Dr. Hanner Hernandez from 34 years. He did this and that. No, he can tell his story. I'll give him 2 sentences that I can remember. I'm not going to sit here and read a bio. I can, but that's boring. That wasn't my vision. And so when I'm taking my vision of fun and this vision of boring and trying to smash them together, that it wasn't working. So you got to be relaxed. You got to have a clear outcome. Know what you're good at. Lean into those things. Your distractions, you're going to have internal, this is really 4 and 5. You're going to have internal and external distractions, and you've got to work to block them out. So there were all these things. Hey, Jen. And then people, would come up to the side of the stage and ask me a question and, hey, Jen. And I'd walk around and, hey, Jen. And there were just all these things and I could talk to them, but I had to stay present with what I was doing. So no external distractions and no internal distractions. I had to let those things go. My mind can't be wandering about, oh yeah, I'd like to have lunch. And oh yeah, oh, you want to have a conversation that's not about what I'm doing? No, I can't do that. I have to get in my mental headspace before I go out on stage. I had to do that. So I had to watch as those things came up. If I was hungry, I just went and ate. I didn't think about it. I had some Cliff Bars on me. I was prepared. So that's what I did. So now external, no internal distractions. And lastly, you got to know that whatever you're working on, ready? Here it is. Golden nugget. I want you to write this thing down. If you've not written anything down to this point, this is it. It's not about you. This isn't about you. That show this weekend wasn't about how well can Jen Sugarmeyer MC an event. No, it's never what it was about. This event was about every single person that showed up that day. This was their event. This was for them. Your higher power has given you a reason that you're here. And again, whether you're writing a book, whether you're going to your kid's PTA meeting, whether you're doing something at your own job, you're building a business, you're an MC, you're whatever. It's not about you. The words you're writing in that book are for somebody else. You're emceeing for the people in that room. You're at the PTA for the children. It's not about you. And that's how you're going to get in flow, is when you just relax, when you know where you're going, when you tap into what you're good at, when you let go of all the internal and external distractions, and when you realize that it's not about you, it's about everyone else. So just flow with it. That's when you're in your powerful state. And I'll tell you what, that first hour where I was like, I mean, it was okay. It just wasn't like the rest of the entire time. We had fun, y'all. We had fun. And I got a lot of compliments. People were like, whoa, we didn't know who was in, I was like one of the, I was in the minority of being white. They're like, and we were playing all 90s hip hop. They're like, who is this girl? I even had people come up to say that to me. They're like, who is this girl who can perform, who can sing, who can make people laugh? I'm like, I just did it. I just let it flow. I didn't think about what joke should I tell? How should I make them laugh? Oh, I'm so nervous. I just did it. So it's not about you. That's the most powerful thing I want you to take out of today. So again, if you've not yet liked, if you've not yet subscribed, please do so. That helps the algorithm. We are being intentional about our lives. We want to blow up this algorithm. So excited for people to get really, really clear on where they want their life to be. And we're going to help them on that journey. So hit that like, hit that subscribe. You help others by doing that. So I'll see you back here, same time, same place tomorrow. Today, I want you to think about getting in flow and relaxing. And remember that things aren't about you. I love you, and I will see you here tomorrow.